The Marvel Cinematic Universe is the biggest entertainment franchise in the world right now, with a thriving, passionate fanbase that pumps out fan theories almost as fast as Marvel Studios pumps out content. From the multiverse madness of Doctor Strange 2, to the unsettling grittiness of Moon Knight, to the impending arrivals of Blade, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men. While some of the current fan guesswork actually sounds logical and likely, for example Wanda being the villain in Doctor Strange 2, some of it frankly sounds rather nutty. With that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, and these are 10 insane fan theories for upcoming MCU projects. Number 10. The Echo show is actually a Daredevil show. The announcement of an Echo TV show was met with very little fanfare back in March 2021. Even though we've now spent a good amount of time with the character, that fanfare hasn't really increased all that much. Indeed, her role in the Hawkeye series didn't really get fans excited about her upcoming solo project, to the extent that some people are theorizing that said project is actually a front. More specifically, a front for a Daredevil series. Considering Daredevil's recent appearance in No Way Home, and the fact that we've heard basically zero news about the Echo show in almost a year, you can sort of understand how the theory originated. Echo is also one of the next places you'd expect Matt Murdock to appear, especially factoring in the Kingpin connection. And hey, Kevin Feige has dished out fake titles before, Captain America's Civil War being jokingly unveiled as the Serpent Society, so why can't he do it again? It's an incredibly wild theory, and that's exactly why it can't be true. For starters, that Serpent Society fake-out lasted minutes, not months, but more importantly, revealing that a show about a disabled woman of colour as nothing more than a cover-up would be a disastrous move publicity-wise. Feige isn't foolish enough to pull such a stunt, and even though it's likely that Daredevil is in Echo, and that he does have his own solo project in development, a better way to keep it hidden for the last year, thus keeping his No Way Home return a secret, would have simply been not to announce it. It's not rocket science. Number 9. Venom versus the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now sure, it isn't exactly a huge swing to theorize the Venom symbiote is going to infect character X. But can you imagine the shenanigans that would ensue if said symbiote got its gooey mitts on the Guardians of the Galaxy? Drax with all his literalisms. Quill, there's a slimy beast on me! Die, slimy beast of death! Groot saying, I am Groot, in the most bizarre ways he's ever said it. And Star-Lord busting out some of the freakiest dance moves we've ever seen him pull. Now where and when the symbiote plot thread will continue remains to be seen. It might not reappear until the next Spider-Man movie, and that doesn't even have a date yet. In fact, it hasn't even been officially announced yet. And there's a ton of story that needs to happen to bring the Guardians and the symbiote together. That said, once we get the next big MCU crossover, having the Black Goo mess with characters like Quill, Drax and Rocket is an opportunity that's too good to pass up. Or hey, if that upcoming holiday special is a one-off non-canon sort of thing, then why not let the beautifully deranged mind of James Gunn mess around with the MCU's newest slimiest toy? Number 8. Jaden Smith is Miles Morales. Another week, another incredibly famous name set to join the MCU rumour. One such rumour that recently started doing the rounds is that After-Earth star Jaden Smith has met with Marvel about a potential superhero role. Naturally, this got fans speculating about which characters he could play, and inevitably the most popular theory is that he's being lined up for Miles Morales. Smith has thrown petrol on that particular fire by tweeting out a picture of himself wearing a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man mask, and if you look at it one way, he's a pretty good fit for the role. He can act well enough, and he's already linked with Miles due to his involvement with the recent PS4-PS5 game's soundtrack. Basically, this theory isn't totally crazy, especially compared to some of the others in this video. But at the same time, it's also difficult to buy. For starters, Smith has got that Hollywood stink on him, thanks to the total failure of After Earth, and he hasn't done much high-profile acting work since. Is a major high-pressure role like Miles Morales really the right way to return to the scene? Also, live-action Spider-Man actors are usually relatively unknown. Maguire, Garfield and Holland weren't globally recognised names when they were cast, and wouldn't it be cooler to see a new, more exciting talent bring Miles to the MCU for the first time? Actors have talks with studios all the time, so there's a good chance the initial rumour is true, but Jaden Smith playing Miles freaking Morales? Plausible sure, but definitely a bit weird. Number 7. Old Man Steve is actually an imposter. In the final minutes of Avengers Endgame, Steve Rogers takes a trip back in time to return the Infinity Stones that the Avengers previously nicked. In doing so, he decides to remain in the past, seizing the opportunity to live a normal life with his beloved Peggy Carter. The next time we see him, he's an old man in the present day, handing off the Captain America shield to his good friend Sam Wilson. We don't actually see what Steve got up to in the past, which has allowed fans to fill in the blanks with their own crackpot theories. One such crackpot theory is that somewhere in the past the real Steve Rogers was captured or killed, meaning that Old Man Steve is actually an imposter. The theory posits that Old Man Steve could be a Skrull working for Hydra, tying into the upcoming Secret Invasion show, or that he might even be Red Skull, who, let's not forget, does have a penchant for wearing Mission Impossible style face masks. And remember, Steve would have bumped into Red Skull when he returned the Soul Stone to Vormir, so what if the villain overpowered him and took his place? Considering that Steve's entire MCU arc was building up to that happy life with Peggy, it would be a cruel move by the filmmakers to reveal that he never actually got it. And what's more, that would then pose the question of how a mask-wearing Red Skull posing as Rogers could get down and dirty with Peggy without her realizing. Let's hope Marvel Studios just doesn't go there, eh? Number 6. The TVA captures Deadpool. The question of how Marvel Studios will utilize Deadpool is one of the most intriguing comic book movie topics right now. Will he actually join the MCU properly in all his four-wall-breaking glory, or will he just sort of make jokes about the characters and not really impact the ongoing storylines of the franchise? Until that question is definitively answered, fans of course have theories, and a fun one that started doing the rounds after Loki is that the Time Variance Authority will have a role to play in bringing Deadpool into the main Avengers universe. In Loki, we learn that the TVA's job is to protect the sacred timeline by eradicating any potential branches, as seen when the God of Mischief seizes the Tesseract in 2012 New York, deviating from his established path. Elsewhere, at the end of Deadpool 2, Deadpool uses Cable's time travel device to save his wife, while also killing Ryan Reynolds before he signs up for Green Lantern, and putting an end to X-Men Origins Wolverine's silent Deadpool variant. See where this is going? Though the status and future of the TVA isn't exactly clear, its creator is dead and the multiverse is running amok, Deadpool's MCU journey could begin with the TVA capturing him for messing around with time, which would be an appropriately off-the-wall way to bring the character into the fold. Number 5. Thanos created Galactus. Like Deadpool, there's another big question mark over the Fantastic Four characters, and how they'll be brought into the MCU. We know that a Marvel Studios Fantastic Four movie is coming, with Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts at the helm, but not a single detail about that project's story has been revealed. Still, even if it's not in that first Fantastic Four flick, it's a given that Galactus will enter the fray at some point, and a crazy good theory for exactly how he'll enter the fray revolves around the MCU's former big bad, Thanos. The theory speculates that a character as intelligent as Thanos would have had backup plans upon backup plans. By destroying the Infinity Stones, he's removing the ability to perform another snap, and when the population of the universe reverts to its normal size in a couple of decades' time, his first snap will be undone. So isn't it possible that he had an ace in the hole? Something to help him keep the population at that 50% level permanently? Enter Galactus, whom the theory predicts was created by Thanos just before he destroyed the stones. Since Galactus is a world devourer, this is Thanos' insurance policy, a mighty cosmic force that can keep the universe's population in check while also being nigh on impossible for our heroes to defeat. It's unlikely that a character as powerful and beloved as Galactus will be introduced as a Thanos lackey, but hey, literally any theory sounds better than that cloud monstrosity from Rise of the Silver Surfer. Number 4. Kingpin is actually a Skrull. At this point, it's been theorized that pretty much every MCU character will be revealed as a Skrull. And though most of these theories obviously won't come true, it's no surprise that Kingpin's bizarre introduction in Hawkeye has received the same treatment. Just look at all the clues. This Kingpin has an inhuman level of strength, he's acting and dressing way differently to his Netflix counterpart, and he just took a point-blank gunshot off screen, which could be hiding the moment when his lifeless body morphs back into its original Skrull form. form. It's a little far-fetched, of course, but given that the Skrulls are now in play and that there's a Secret Invasion series on the horizon which will revolve around a sector of the Skrulls who have infiltrated humanity, it's not impossible. And hey, Echo, the character who delivered the off-screen gunshot, is actually involved in the Secret Invasion comic book storyline. Coincidence? Like most Skrull theories, this one again probably isn't true. But good lord, it would be one hell of a plot twist if Secret Invasion kicks off with Kingpin's corpse slowly turning into a green-skinned alien. Number 3. Wanda has already said no more mutants in the future. MCU fans do this thing where they take iconic lines from the comics and try to think of ways those lines could be used in the movies. With great power comes great responsibility was the big one recently, though some people thought that it might have been uttered by Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or even a multiverse version of Uncle Ben. It was actually Aunt May who delivered the line. And now that we finally heard it, the quote that fans are currently focused on is "No more mutants," which was spoken by Wanda during the House of M storyline. The popular theory is that we'll get a reversal of the line, perhaps just more mutants, which many fans believe is how Feige will bring the X-Men into the MCU. But a cooler, much more bonkers theory is that Wanda has already said no more mutants in the future, which has erased the entire existence of the X-Men. Then, in an upcoming project, we'll reach the moment where Wanda is about to utter the line and somebody stops her. Suddenly, the X-Men reappear with their history and backstory intact. The only reason we haven't seen them in the MCU is because Wanda's future line rippled backwards through time. It's a bit convoluted, sure, but this would be a very good way to keep the traditional origin of the X-Men intact and explain where they've been this whole time. Number 2. Kang assembles a multiversal Dark Avengers. At this point, we don't really know who the main bad guy of Phase 4 and beyond is going to be. The Infinity Saga had Thanos, so who's the equivalent here? Galactus, Wanda, or something else entirely? Kang the Conqueror is another prime candidate, but considering his mastery over time and space, he wouldn't need to act alone. This has spawned a theory that Kang will traverse the multiverse seeking out evil versions of the Avengers to help him in his quest for total domination. Think Strange Supreme, Hydra Cap, or even brand new Dark Avengers, created specifically for the movies, all played by their original actors. Though bringing back the likes of Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson to play evil variants of their heroes would be awesome to see, it already feels like the Dark Avengers concept is being covered by Valentina Fontaine, who has already recruited Yelena Belova and John Walker. That said, Kang is clearly going to be an important player going forward, and with Strange meeting his evil variant in the Multiverse of Madness trailer, this theory already has a few pieces in place to support it. Number 1. Doctor Strange 2 will have multiple endings. Speaking of Multiverse of Madness, that movie is shaping up to be nuts. With Marvel Studios eager to deliver more fan-pleasing multiverse cameos after the insane success of No Way Home, we're in for a ton of big surprises. And the unlimited potential of the multiverse means that Feige can do literally anything he wants here. Well, within reason, that is. What he certainly won't do is give the story a choose-your-own-adventure type structure, with different versions of the film following different variants, all leading to several different endings. It's certainly a fun theory, but for obvious reasons this would never happen in a million years. Forcing fans to see the film multiple times in order to complete it would be outrageous, especially during a pandemic. And then there's the problem of picking a canon ending, which will make all the others redundant. And hey, these huge movies aren't cheap, so frankly it would be a waste of time and money to film a ton of unnecessary alternate content. And that concludes our list. If you've got a theory, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below, and while you're there, like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Don't forget to head over to Twitter to follow us there, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.